Right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to talk more comics, and tonight we're going to be talking about Absolute Carnage number 3. But before we get to that, we are going to be talking about a couple of the tie-ins, one really briefly, one kind of briefly. And the honorable mention really is Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool number 2. One second, I gotta I forgot to turn the Logitech thing off. So anyway, this tie-in really so far has been pretty much pointless, other than the fact that you get some, if you like Rob Liefeld connecting covers, that's why I got this, because I got number 1's connecting cover. And I like Rob Liefeld that he created Deadpool. Okay, whether you like him or not, he created one of the most important and influential characters of the last 30 years. And really, come on, think about who all the characters that have been around. So I've been collecting these just for basically the covers, and I read them. But I mean, yeah, Deadpool is, as Carnage calls him in this book, a unicorn. He's been a part of 4 different symbiotes. And I'm going to pause this real quick. Or I'm not going to... Alright, so basically, yeah, he's had 4 symbiotes attached to him. 5 if you count something else that's mentioned in this book. And he, it's just him fighting some symbiotes. So far, nothing in this book has really mattered. And like I said, a lot of tie-in books, they don't really, if you watch my Deceasening, the Deceased tie-in for DC, that book actually kind of matters. And I shouldn't even say kinda, it really matters. This, on the other hand, I don't know why, except that Deadpool and Carnage have done things and had, interactions in the past. And Deadpool's newest book run just got over with, and so there really hasn't been any Deadpool in a second. And I guess they were trying to make it, keep him relevant here. But next up is to talk about something that does matter, that does tie in, is Venom number 18. Because it was written by Donny Cates, and it's actually, really ties into what happened at the end of Absolute Carnage number 2, where we're dealing with Dylan and him finding, trying to protect Norman's grandson. We also have, Sleeper here, who becomes important to this story, and how he went to the planet of symbiotes, found out about what was going on with Null, and went to leave and come back to Earth. And when he gets here, we find out that his body is a decayed, dead Kree soldier and stuff. And he almost attaches himself to Dylan, who is Eddie Brock's son. Who doesn't know that? Well, he gets taken out by the Maker. Now, the Maker is such an interesting addition to Venom. He's been in the book now for a while, he's been a part of Venom's and the symbiote story for a while. But Maker, if you don't know, is the Ultimates version of Reed Richards. Say, like Miles Morales, who came in during Secret Wars and stuff. Maker's the last kind of Ultimates thing, and it's really, really cool. And he's trying to remove the codexes from people and kill the symbiotes, but he's also got his own plans going on, and he wants to keep Dylan there. I also really love the way that even his dialogue is written differently from the rest of it. But anyway, he's basically experimenting on people and torturing people and all that stuff. Pausing. Are we paused? Alright, so anyway, he is told hey, don't bother me and everything, and Dylan knows that he has to get out of here. Well, this is where he hears the end of Absolute Carnage number 2. Eddie and Maker talking about Anne, if you saw the Venom movie, was the girl in that. That she died and she wasn't there, And this is all about Dylan. And then Dylan decides he needs to get out of there, and so he says what Eddie would do is something stupid. So he comes up to Maker, who like look at that cool stretchy, like evil Reed Richards, just he blasts the symbiotes that he's been keeping in jars to attack him. Now this is important. This is actually really cool because they all bond with Maker, or alternate Reed, and so a whole bunch of symbiotes just attach themselves to him. And he becomes like this hybrid of a bunch of different symbiotes. So this is really, really cool. And again, the writing in here is so great. The art is so great. Like him coming out of the freaking building there. Sorry, I try to get it so you guys can see better. And he comes to kill Dylan and everything, and all of a sudden he gets smacked around. And by who? Shows up at the end of this issue. But all the heroes show up at the end. You got Cap, you got Wolverine, you got the Thing and Spider-Man all coming to rescue Dylan at the end of this book. So that leads us right into Absolute Carnage, number 3 by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. Ryan Stegman's art, man, freaking amazing art in this book. There's like a few alternate versions of this book. Yeah, I got Absolute Carnage, the connecting cover. That's a pretty cool cover. That reminds me of X-Men number 1. And then we got the Absolute Carnage number 3 Ron Lim cover, because I love Ron Lim. Always have. Anyway, those are the 2 variants that I picked up in this book. Now, this book gets crazy because it's leading into, there's a one-shot coming out for the Immortal Hulk. But I do have a question about something that happens in this book that relates to that. Now, in this book, Eddie's feeling really bad about what happened, and we'll switch this over. Eddie's feeling really bad about losing Miles Morales, and I just like the fact that when I first started reading Amazing Spider-Man back in the late 80s, and Venom, and realizing how far Venom has come since then, how he's now worried about the fact that he let Miles be taken by Carnage to be infected by him, is just something that I would never have thought of. Even when they started doing Lethal Protector back in the early 90s, I was like, I don't know if I want Venom to be a good guy. I really honestly was like, I don't really want him to be a good guy. But over the years now, I've just been digging this. And what we also get in this is the battle between Eddie and his other in this. The other is talking about just taking people out. Taking everybody out that needs to be taken out to get this done, to kill Carnage, to kill Norman Osborn, whatever we got to do, the other wants to do it. Eddie has grown as a person and just wants to find other ways, wants to rescue as many people. But when Venom takes over and Norman Osborn's there, he takes advantage and totally just nails him right in the heart. But he does let him go, and that's where this struggle keeps continuing throughout this issue of what to do to get this done. Because the symbiote is telling him, look, man, if you're not strong enough to frickin' do this, then I'm going to find someone who is. Now, a part of me thought that this was going to be Spider-Man. Now, I know... kind of knew what was going to happen by the end of this book. I just didn't know what it was going to look like. But I thought, well, that would be pretty easy just to go as Spider-Man. But anyway, to get back to it. So this is where he shows up to meet Dylan, and all the heroes have been there. Now, the events that have happened in this moment, before this moment, are in Venom number 19, but it's not out yet. But we know that Eddie is told by Spider-Man that everybody's cool. They all understand what's going on. Nobody's after him, so Captain America and Thing and everybody. And Bruce Banner's there. Okay, Bruce Banner's there, lab coat and all. And I'm just kind of thinking, what? It's the only part of this story that so far that, like, in the main books, that I'm like, when is this taking place? Because right now, in Immortal Hulk, because there's nothing in here that says, like, the events of this book take place before Immortal Hulk number blank. And so Bruce Banner right now is on the run. He's destitute. He is living in the fucking desert, you know. Well, right now he's been attacking the black site or whatever. And just seeing him in such a normal situation right now, and with the heroes, it seems really out of place. It doesn't seem natural. It seems forced to do something cool. Now, I'm all for something cool, man. I really am. But it doesn't really make sense right now. And I would really like to understand why Banner's there. How did they get Banner there? And, you know, is it day, like, I guess it's daytime, but it looks, see, this all looks like nighttime, right? So the nighttime is Hulk time. Immortal Hulk time. So I don't know. Maybe they'll explain it, I don't know. But then we find out that Sleeper, the Venom, the symbiote that got blasted by Maker, is now attached to a cat. We also get this really sweet moment between Eddie and Dylan where they embrace. He still hasn't told him that he's his kid yet. There's the cat Sleeper right there. Pretty cool looking. So they all figure that the Banner's figured out a way to get the codexes out of everybody. Of course he has. Because they need Banner to do that? I don't know. But Spider-Man says he's going in last. Now the first person, okay, so they talk about who should go in there first, right? It's like you and Cap and Thing and Wolverine. You need to get Wolverine in that thing first before anybody else. Not because he's one of my favorite characters, because just thinking about if they got their hands on Wolverine, what would happen. Spider-Man says he'll go in last. And this is at the point where Venom, the symbiote, is trying to tell Eddie, hey, you know, we could finally tell Peter that this isn't his burden to bear, that the symbiotes have been here since the Dark Ages, and Beowulf and Grendel and all that stuff. But Eddie decides not to tell him because he needs his help. So it's kind of interesting how Eddie's thought processes go, because he won't kill, but he will willingly deceive people that are trying to help him out. But in this next part, okay, what we don't know is that the place has been infiltrated. The place has been infiltrated, and I never see this coming. Now, this is another part that just kind of weirded me out, because we don't see how, we don't see why, like how this happened. But Eddie comes bursting into the room, and he realizes that the person that Spider-Man's been talking to is not Eddie, and that it's Carnage. And he starts going through one of his usual diatribes about why he is and what he is, and how people say, oh, it was the influence of guns and sex and violence and video games and whatever, and it's that he is those things, that's what makes him up. And so he comes bursting, you know, and all his people come to attack and everything. And that's where we get that jump right here, where the symbiote leaps out of Eddie because Eddie won't do what the symbiote feels is necessary, so he goes into the strongest person that he can think of, which is Bruce Banner. And I guess Banner has never been, and the Hulk have never been attached to a symbiote. And it actually does something where there's this boom, there's this like huge boom, and Carnage says, wait, was I felt that. Who are you? Because he's like, boom, like kind of gets knocked back. And that's when we get the really cool shot of We Are Hulk. So, hang on. The camera already freaked out on me again. So yeah, We Are Hulk. Now, I still don't know how this works, because Immortal Hulk, man, seems to be following a whole different set of Hulk rules. And I don't know, but it's pretty amazing. I am getting the Immortal Hulk Absolute Carnage tie-in just because it's Immortal Hulk. I want to see how this plays out. Now, this to me is kind of a middle-of-the-road book. There's some really cool things. I mean, of course, you got the Hulk part. We got the battle between Venom and Eddie. Other than that, this is like a little bit disappointing, a little bit of a step back. And like I said, because of the Bruce Banner stuff, I'm not really understanding how he got there. It's probably the weakest issue. But still, really, I mean, by saying that, I don't mean to say that I don't like this issue. It's great. It's great. But not everything in a series, like, you need exposition, you need world building, you need explanations, you need to move the plot forward through the direction that the characters are all going, and that's what this is. Even though, and we still get great moments. So I don't know if I should be saying it's the weakest, but especially since, but like at the end of last book, we got, Miles being turned, and this we get the Hulk being turned. So I guess if you look at like the journey that you went on in the book, maybe it's still like way up there. But the writing is fantastic, the art is fantastic. I can't wait to see where they keep going with this. And yeah, so that's Absolute Carnage number 3, Venom number 18. We didn't really go into Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool number 2, but that's what we're talking about. So we will be back with more comic reviews. We're going to be reviewing a couple of different things coming up here in the next day or so. So if you liked this review, please hit the comment section. Wow, it's been a long day, guys. I've been at work all day. If you like this video, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications, all that jazz. You can find me on Twitter at YESSHH8, that is Yish8, or you can look up Rob Stone, aka Smirking Gun Reviews. Otherwise, have a great day. We will see you on the next one. Keep reading comics, everybody. Bye.